And on that front, we have the benefit of speaking with someone who has been in contact with the president and his team about the Omicron variant. As we've underscored this newscast, it is, of course, a big concern. But even prior to its appearance, Michigan had been dealing with overwhelmed hospitals and overflowing ERs. We spoke with Congresswoman Debbie Dingell about her discussions with the White House on that and big tasks facing Congress.
I and Fred Upton were on the phone with the White House on Wednesday about Michigan, very concerned about the resources that the state of Michigan needed and asked for and encouraged. And quite frankly, I think they were annoyed that we asked, but we got some of the resources that we needed for the state in terms of help for our frontline workers, for getting more the medical treatment that we need for those that do get COVID, and for getting more testing, more tests available in the state, period.
Dr. Fauci told the president that it's going to take at least 2 weeks to have any kind of concrete information on the Omicron variants, including how effective our vaccines are against this new variant. But the strategy from the White House seems to be, let's just get people to get their booster shots. Is that the best strategy? Should we instead be focusing on the travel ban when we don't know how effective the vaccines will be against the Omicron variant?
So I actually think that we already have a multi-pronged approach going on. I was very happy to hear that the president was imposing a travel ban. I think we waited too late in times past. And what we want to try to do is prevent a lot of people coming into this country that may have it. One of the things that we do know is that people need to get their booster and that people need to get vaccinated. Michigan, the Washington Post described Michigan as almost out of control in the last couple of days. I hope we're going to stay under control, but our hospitals are already stretched. We are experiencing a real surge in COVID of the Delta variant right now. And I think the White House is trying to get ahead of this new variant in every way that it can.
I do want to turn to Build Back Better now. The Congressional Budget Office finally weighed in, and that was some very important information. The CBO saying that it's possible the social spending plan could result in a net increase in the deficit totaling $367 billion over about a decade. Now, if IRS enforcement is factored in, that figure is closer to $160 billion, but still it is substantial. The White House has continued to say the Build Back Better plan is paid for, but it seems like we have irrefutable evidence that maybe it's not. What do you say?
Well, first of all, the CBO office is not infallible, and they said the same thing about the Affordable Care Act, which has paid for itself. I do believe that this bill is paid for. I wouldn't have voted for it if I didn't think that this vote would be paid for. A number of economists have also said the same thing. So we're dealing, and by the way, the CBO hasn't come out with their final budget analysis. There were some numbers that they got to those that wanted to see more of the numbers. We need to make sure this bill pays for itself. I think we're trying to do that in the revenue that's being raised. And I do believe the bill will be paid for when it comes back to the House.
Congress has to fund the government by December 3rd. That is a deadline that is certainly looming for you and your colleagues. Do you think we're going to see an omnibus spending bill, or will there be a stopgap measure to just fund the government until, I think, December 17th? And also, there's resistance to raising the debt ceiling, which we see, it seems like, all the time, perennially. So will we default on our debt? What do you expect to happen there?
First of all, we cannot let the government shut down. In the middle of a pandemic with all the crises that this country is facing, we must keep the government running. I do believe we will pass a short-term funding mechanism. What I'm not clear on, don't think the final agreement has been reached as to whether it is December 17th or it goes into February. So we'll obviously work that out this week. With regards to raising the debt ceiling, again, this country cannot default on its expenditures.
And the Senate is scheduled to be back in session tomorrow. I do want to turn to Build Back Better now. One of the major things that is certainly going to be on the plate of Congress, particularly the Senate, as they try to tackle this. And we do expect it will probably be a very different, or at least a slightly different version than the House version. And Senator Joe Manchin, for example, has already signaled that he is, let's say, disquieted by 4-week paid leave, which the House bill does include. So is that going to be a casualty of the Senate markup, do you think?
First of all, I think most of the negotiations on the Build Back Better occurred before it passed the House of Representatives. I do believe that it'll pass before the end of the year. There's so much in it that people need that I think it will pass. I know Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema have raised some issues. Here's my attitude. We're the only industrial nation in the world that doesn't have some kind of paid family leave. I think we need it in this country. If that does not, if Senator Manchin blocks it in this bill, then I know that there are bipartisan Republican and Democratic senators who are quickly going to move that as a separate bill. And there's so many other critical things in this bill that I think 95% of it has been agreed upon. It will move and we'll get it done. These are promises that have been made to the American people. They are enormously popular and needed and critical for our communities, and I believe we'll get it done.
So you think the current, well, once the Senate is done marking up the bill, you think paid leave will be included?
I don't know. I would like to see Senator Manchin change his mind. I do know we're the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't have some kind of paid family leave. But we'll see what happens in the Senate. I have long ago determined not to predict what will happen in the Senate. They are most unpredictable.
Fair to say, very fair to say. And so you have about 10 or so working legislative days. Do you expect that the Senate will be able to pass the Build Back Better plan in that time? Senator Schumer seems to think that's the case.
Well, first of all, we might have 10 scheduled days of work, but we've all been known to work late hours, to work through weekends. And I do believe we're going to get this done. The president's asked for it. If the president tells the Senate he wants this bill, I think he's got the ability to get it done. I'm fearful that I may not be home for Christmas. If we have to work Christmas, I've seen it happen before. But we have a lot of work ahead of us in December. That's what the people who elected me to do want me to get done. And I'm going to do my job until we get the things done that have to be done.